Good morning. It's Thursday, the 8th of May, and there's no new pope as of yet. Not sure who the favorites are, what goes on in there. But like I said, the best movie I saw that explains it pretty much, some of the thinking that goes on there, is Shoes of the Fisherman. I'm trying to locate where it's available, if it's available, because it's from like the 70s, I think. So it may not be around anymore, you know. I know it's not on tape, but well, maybe it is. I don't know. All right, here we go. What's new and what's exciting? Pakistan and India are going at it. I don't know how new this is, but it's scary as hell because you're talking about two countries that have a great deal of influence in the area. You're talking about two countries that are nuclear powers, and you have India has to worry about their usual border thing with China, so I don't know what's exactly going to happen there. It's scary because Trump doesn't know what to do. He's got his finger up his ass and he's sitting in a corner and he's sucking his thumb. So we don't know what's going to happen there because he hasn't got a clue as to what to do. You know, he's not going to, you know, I want to see him. Where's the deal? Where's he going to make the deal? You know, come on. Let's get realistic. He made a tariff deal with England, and England represents like, what is it, 11%, or they're number 11 in our trading partners, and it's just ridiculous. That's just show business. That's all he is, just a showboat. It's Donald at his normal self. What else is going on? Big thing to deal with the veterans. I mean, there are veterans that are this has been a problem for years, but Trump is making it 100 times worse than it is. People used to ignore veterans. Vietnam veterans were probably treated the worst of them all because nobody liked that war. And then they took it out on the poor guys that came back that were just trying to do the right thing, That is, the ones that came back busted up, not the ones that came back with the drugs in their pockets. That was the problem, because you had a lot of those guys were involved in bad things. When Vietnam, they brought a lot of money back, and they were, it wasn't a good thing. So the people didn't like the veterans, but the veterans of all the other wars, including Afghanistan, just did what they were supposed to do. They went over there and tried. They wanted to help. They wanted to help, and they wanted to stop the violence. Government doesn't let them do that all the time because it gets very, very expensive in manpower and in money. So government, looks for an easy way out. There wasn't. They didn't accomplish anything over there. The guys felt betrayed, and then you come back as a veteran and you're betrayed again. Because Trump doesn't like veterans, because he couldn't get. Well, couldn't get it. He didn't want to go. Remember, he called McCain a loser because he got caught. But he also escaped. So what's that make him? This is a contentious issue with Donald Trump. Veterans have always been under-respected. It's like, okay, you guys go fight the war, win the war, come back, and all right, go away, leave us alone now. We'll call you when we need you. And the veterans that get out are usually the ones that are, some of them were like in World War II and in Vietnam, they were drafted. They didn't have a choice. But then the ones that come out that volunteer, like an Afghan, was all volunteers. Nobody got drafted. They were all volunteering in the military. And those guys that got out, most of them were screwed up. you know, some way or another. You say, well, you get screwed up. They didn't get shot. They weren't hurt. What's wrong with them? Well, sit in a foxhole with the guy. And sitting next to a guy when a sniper takes his head off. And then sit there and try to figure out why he took that guy and not you. And that screws up a lot of people. It's the guilt conscience. There's a term for it, but I call it guilt. You know, it's they feel bad because they survived and their friends didn't. You know, everybody looks at the here's an example of what people get all wrong. They look at Blue Bloods, the television show, which just got canceled recently. It's about New York police detectives and the commissioner and everything. It's a good show, but forget that. It's the one son in the show is a Iran veteran from the war with Iran, and he comes back, and he's the only survivor of his patrol or unit, whatever. And he had another incident where he couldn't go for some reason, and because he'd been out so long or something like that. So another young guy went and got shot by a sniper in the temple. And it shows that it bothers him slightly. And he must have a very strong constitution. Because I know people that situations like that happen to, where you're the only survivor of a patrol or something like that, or you come out and you're, for some reason, you're the only one that gets a pass that day or something like that, and your replacement gets shot, or killed, and that screws these guys up. It messes their brains up completely, and that's that's something that Donald doesn't understand. You know, I don't think Donald understands anything really. I think he just makes up his mind about something, and then, or somebody whispers in his ears, we could use that money to do something else with. Why are we paying these guys? They just sit around and do nothing. They're useless. They got a leg shut off. They got an arm shot off. They got their head screwed up. Dude, they fought for this country. They fought for the Constitution that you want to tear up and throw in the garbage. Pretty soon these vets are going to get pissed, you know, and they're not going to worry about their benefits anymore, or their position in life. They're going to go back to the combat mentality, and they're going to get pissed, and shit's going to hit the fan, and deservedly so, because Trump is just a complete moron when it comes to veterans, and I think it's just because he resents the fact that people think more of them than they think of him. You know, I'm interested to see what happens with this parade, because there are troops that think he's a great man, you know, because they're racist, or they have other, or they don't like immigrants, or they're because let's face it, the average soldier's IQ is not Einstein's. All right, so okay, I'm not trying to insult any of those boys. Let me tell you something. Just so you understand my situation before you veterans start screaming at me. During the Vietnam War, I was eligible for the draft. I was going to get drafted within a week or two or something like that, because I had already had my second physical, and usually you had a month after that you were drafted. I studied the war, and it just looked like it wasn't something we were going to win, and that's a hard thing to say, but a very man smarter than me, a British Major General, made a comment that because of the supply lines and everything else, and we were fighting guerrillas, there was no way we could win it. So I said, okay, what do I do? I don't want to go to Vietnam. You know, do I go to I had a chance to join the Air Force, but I didn't want 4 years of service, you know. And I said, what am I going to do in the Air Force? I don't know anything about the Air Force. So I decided, well, I have choices now. I can try to come up with some excuse for not going. I can move to Canada. I didn't want to get labeled a deserter or anything like that. I wasn't deserting, really. I just didn't think the war was winnable. So what did I do? I joined the National Guard. This way I got to serve, and I didn't have to go. Ended up with the Newark riots, but, you know, some other nasty little things. But it was still better than going to a country that, as far as I knew, the people were supportive, but the governments weren't. And the U.S. wasn't going to let them win that war for some reason. I have no idea why. Okay, so that's my experience with the military. So you know where I'm coming from. I support veterans. I support the military. I don't knock them for anything. You know, I'm not stupid. So, all right. Moving along, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene is gonna try and run for Senate, and the Republicans are scared shitless because they don't want her. Even though she's loyal to Trump, she also happens to be crazy, legitimately, and they know that if she gets in the Senate's going to be all screwed up. So I'd love to see what happens there, but because I don't think she's going to get Republican support. But you never know. You know, they're fucked up. They'll do about anything. And the last thing of the day is the Asian immigrants now are being sent to Libya. Trump wants to do that. Trump just wants to screw with everybody he can. And I got to tell you, when he goes to jail, I don't want him to go to Alcatraz or anything like that. I want him to go to El Salvador. I think that would be a good place to keep him. All right. You know you have to... excuse me. It's that time of the video where I ask you to subscribe and to like my video and hit the comment button and make a comment. Whatever else is there, I don't know. I have to see. I might have to. I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but it doesn't come out the way I want it, so I don't know. But I got to put some add-ons in there and whatnot and do the videos, make them a little bit more exciting. I'm not looking to make money. I'm not going to do anything that costs me money there. So I really appreciate it if you guys out there that do take a look at these videos, if you like them, you know. I mean, what you're looking at in the background isn't the greatest background in the world. I work in an office that's designed basically where I do my woodworking and I do a little bit of the computer stuff. There's not a lot. What do I have here? I have a collection of, elephants that my mother left me. I have stuff from my dog and cat that passed away. I have a couple of placemats from Japan, France rather, I think. Very famous restaurants hanging on the wall. I got a bunch of clocks I made. I have some plaques that I did, some other artwork that I did. I have a teddy bear collection those were gifts to my wife that she just decided she didn't want anymore. I have books. Like I said, I have little collectibles, photographs, cookbooks, my dog Lucy, and behind me is just that's a closet I throw stuff in, you know. And then I have other closets I store stuff in. My trains are in there and whatnot. That's going up for sale this year, so. But that's what I come out of. This is my office, and you can see over here. This is the work table, the lamp, and for my wood burning projects and carving projects. So, you know, I'm not fancy. I don't have political posters up. I don't have a great library. I used to when I was in New Jersey. I left all the books there. I had some old books that I sold them too, to come back down here. Gave up my comic book collection for about $9,000, and that was worth a lot more than that had I sold it individually, or they hadn't lost, the post office hadn't lost 2 deliveries on me. But that's it, so do me a favor, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you tomorrow, or sooner if there's a new pope or something exciting happens.